All right, going live in three, two, one. Oh, this is TNZ episode. This is number 13. Is that right, Tina?
Yeah, it is.
Once again, I labeled it incorrectly, so forgive me. I put episode number 12. I'll have to correct that if people are watching this live. If you're watching it later on, you'll see it should have the correct number on there. But yeah, this is cool.
I know we've come so far and watched so many movies.
Yeah, lucky episode number 13. So
Sorry if I'm blinking a lot. I was cutting up onions earlier and there's like onions still in the air. So sorry in advance if I'm like,
does that really make you? I've tried to make myself cry just for the fun of it when I was a kid. Just to see, I've never been able to get myself to cry with it. Does that really work?
I don't cry, but it's like my eyes feel itchy kind of. I don't have tears. There's definitely irritation though. And it hangs around for a while. It actually really affects my eyes. And that's just not even, I mean, it's been a while. And I'm on the whole other side of the apartment. So I don't cry, but I definitely have like issues.
Hmm. Okay. Because on TV shows they always show people crying all the time, and I remember try being around someone one time when I was a kid and just seeing if it could nothing happened. I was like, "Is that real?" So I've never seen anybody actually get affected by it. What is it like? An irritation, like an allergy, or what is it?
I don't know if it's like an allergy because I do like onions. But there's a certain way to actually cut the onion. I have not discovered which way to do that. And I believe when you cut it, certain juices like come out in the air, but you can cut it a certain way and either those juices don't come out, which I don't understand, or it's something like in the core of the onion, maybe. I don't know because you cut the whole onion.
Hmm.
But maybe my eyes are allergic. I don't know.
What were you cutting the onions for? Is it for your just your
Burgers.
burgers? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You ever see what was that the Eddie Murphy routine where he talked about onion, where his mother would make him a hamburger, and she would pound up the meat. He wanted McDonald's hamburger, and she would pound the meat up, and it would be all fat and nasty looking, and there would be little pieces of onion sticking out. And instead of putting it onto a bun, she put it onto just regular white bread.
No, I didn't.
When you said that, it just reminded me of that that whole thing. And the funny part is, my mother made burgers. That's the way she made them too. So she pound them together, with pieces of onion sticking out, and then she put them on white bread instead of an actual bun.
Nice. White bread and burgers gets a bad rap. It's not so bad.
But the problem is, if it's too moist, then the white bread starts to like kind of like dissolve or melt a little, and
That is true. It becomes like transparent almost.
yeah.
That is true. Yeah,
But
I didn't remember that.
when I saw that scene, I forget which movie. I think it was just one of his stand up routines. I could relate so much I couldn't stop laughing on it. So, funny when you can find something that you relate to so much you just can't stop laughing.
Yeah, for sure.
So
He's funny.
yeah, I have well when he wants to be. I haven't seen most of his newer movies. He's not as funny as I remember. So, um, they were coming out with a new Coming to America movie, weren't they? Did that come out yet? I haven't even been paying attention.
I believe it did. And I have zero desire in watching that. So if you're looking forward to that movie, TNZ fans, you're probably not going to get it here. Sorry.
I remember seeing the original one. I liked the original, but I just didn't feel like watching it again. He
Yeah,
has
not the sequel. Not the 2021 sequel.
so that a sequel that comes out 32 years later, or 31 33 years later. I mean, they're coming out with sequels that are really far stretched nowadays. I remember sequels would come out, it'd be a couple years apart, maybe 5 years. I remember when Back to the Future 2 came out. That was like 5 years, and that seemed like a long time. But 33 years for a sequel, I mean, they're really stretching it with these sequels sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Sign of the times.
The I'm not. I don't know. I definitely like you. I just don't really feel like watching it. Like I said, I heard about it and was like, oh, okay, and I just kind of phased out and said, I don't really care. So
Right.
I do have an update though for I mean I this is stuff that's not really new, but my affiliate that was in New Jersey that was hit by Ida, tropical storm Ida. By that time, it wasn't technically a hurricane, but it was still pretty powerful.
Yes. How's he doing?
There was something I forgot to tell you. This is actually not related to the hurricane, but I don't know if I told you about his house being the foundation collapsing. Did I tell you about that?
No.
What happened? Well, actually, this is related to the hurricane. I have two stories then because I didn't know I hadn't told you this part. When after the storm came through, his basement got flooded out. He got back to his house and he rescued his dog. His house was flooded and the foundation collapsed. And the county or whatever jurisdiction he lives in came by and put a notice on his house saying it's inhabitable now, so he can't go into his own house because the foundation something happened to the foundation. It collapsed. I was like, oh my God. And then to top that off, which was the other part that was not related the, to the storm. A few weeks before that, he had sent me an email saying he wasn't able to do his on air work anymore. He was the primary host for the afternoons, or I'm sorry, the mornings. And he got, I don't know what, you know what, I don't know what kind of palsy it is. It's not like cerebral palsy, but it's like a palsy where you lose muscle control. He lost muscle control in his face. So,
Oh my God.
so he can't do any voice work right now until that goes away. And so this guy is like really, I mean, he's really, I mean, I mean, if he was like in a depressed mode, he would have killed himself by now. I mean, losing his able to do his voice work, lost the radio station, almost lost his house. He did save his dog though, he said. But I mean, I told him I felt so sorry if there's anything I could do to help him out, and he hasn't gotten back to me yet. But I have a feeling that I don't know, it's going to be a while before everything gets better for him. But man, I felt really sorry for him.
Right. It's so wild that a few things can really displace a person and really throw you off. But this is just, he's been through quite a lot. That
Yeah,
is, wow, my heart goes out to him.
it
That's
kind of
sad.
it's like I think to myself, oh, I have all that my problems, and I hear about this, I'm like, oh my goodness, he's man, far worse than I am in a lot of ways. And then it's almost like if you ever typed the word cancer into a Google and looked at the images, you realize, oh, you think you have problems. You look at the people who have cancer. It's like the images are just so unbelievable. It's like people are going through that stuff. So
Yeah, I get nervous looking through Google images just because you really never know what you're gonna get unless it's something that is like rainbows and hearts or like otherwise it could be just a single word like you're saying is just all these like graphic images where it's like oh.
yeah, and
But
I would not recommend doing that if unless you're. I didn't expect to see. I don't even know why I did it. I did it like about at least 12 years ago. I just typed the word cancer into a search result, and then I looked at the images. I was like, oh my God! I didn't expect to see what I saw, but it's pretty gruesome.
yeah, well yeah, there's so many people uploading stuff and it's what do they say, it's something about like gore cell no that's not. Anyway, the gory images get the most attention, the more graphic it is. So that
Yeah,
stuff always naturally floats to the top.
yeah. I saw a picture, and I won't describe too much, but it was on a website, and the guy apparently had tried to. I won't describe it at all because it's pretty gruesome. But I will say that it was suggested that maybe the guy tried to kill himself by shooting himself in the head, and the after results was not pretty. So, and I look, he was still alive afterwards, and the the was I couldn't stop thinking about that image for like at least a week. It really got to me. So felt sorry for.
Yeah. Ugh. And especially the like live leak era of the internet. where it was anything you could imagine, and there was some scary stuff on those,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like suicide and murder, and oh my god, live leak is a whole nother conversation. That needs like a documentary thing about it. But yeah, all that stuff, ugh, so
Oh,
graphic. And
yeah, let's get off of that. Let's not talk about the
what
depressing.
you're saying, yeah, what you're saying sounds like live leak, but very good.
Yeah, well, it was the shot, the picture, it was just a still picture, but the picture said enough. It didn't. I didn't need to see any more. So,
Yeah.
um, now, so as far as like everything else, how are things going with you? I didn't ask. I don't think.
Things are good here. I've been doing some, it's called rug tufting. So I'm making rugs from home.
Oh, that's interesting.
And
Really?
yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Could you show us some of your rugs? I'd like to see that. You don't have to do it
All my,
today. I mean, like maybe in another episode or something.
yeah, I can send you pictures and we can pull them up next week.
Oh, it'd be cool. How long have you been doing that?
Maybe like 2 months now, month and a half. Yeah, like 2 months or so. It's been really fun. And it's just another, it's fiber arts, so you know what I mean, like it's expressive and like that. But I've always been interested in, I did like crochet. Well, I never crocheted, but I did like cross stitch. I made friendship bracelets, did weaving and all these different types of things. So I've always been interested in fiber arts, but I never really found the right hobby. So I do all these things and they never stuck. This one is sticking and it's pretty expensive, but I'm hoping I can like flip some of these to sell them.
Oh,
That's the goal,
cool.
and it's fun. Like,
Where would you sell? I assume online, like eBay or Estee or any of those.
I'm thinking like Etsy,
Is that what?
friends, like farmers markets, but you know, summer's winding down, so that would be tougher to do. I'm just thinking word of mouth, hopefully Instagram. See, that's the other thing too. Like the internet and social media makes it really easy to get your stuff out there. And this is kind of like it's become pretty popular recently through TikTok, believe it or not.
Hmm.
But yeah, you can get, if you can get a lot of people to see it, there is a chance for people to buy it. But I mean, you got to have a lot of eyes on it. If it's somebody you don't know and has never seen you before, kind of thing. But that's going pretty well. It's pretty fun. I just finished up a piece today and it's outside drying right now. I leave it outside overnight. It's not going to rain, so I know it'll be okay. But the glue on the back is really smelly and it's very strong. So I don't want to have, chemicals, breathing in chemicals all day. I already breathe in enough dust. This apartment is very dusty.
Mm,
But yeah. So yeah, that's happening with me and it's going pretty well.
cool. Yeah, I would definitely want to see this. I'd like to see what they are. Is this
Cool.
a passion of yours, or is this like something that's more recent? Or
More recent, but it is definitely a passion now. I'm someone who doesn't have very many hobbies except like movies and reality TV. And this has been something I finally can dive into and really care about and do a lot. But I mean, my other passion is like stage acting. And that's really tough to do during COVID. It's also really tough to do when you're one person. So,
once?
yeah, unless it's a monologue, but
Yeah.
I
Okay.
prefer having more than one person to perform with. So,
My sister tried acting, and my sister is a phenomenal singer, but she's like me when it comes to acting. We're a little stiff, a little bit wooden when our in our delivery. But she wasn't really doing the acting for the acting part. She was doing it more because her singing is phenomenal. And so it was a musical that she was singing, and whenever she sang, she was great. Whenever she started to act a little, it was like I could tell she needed a little bit of work on that. So, and she knew she needed it too. It wasn't like it was. I'm not being insulting to her. I'm really not. If she knew she needed that, but she's I took some acting courses in school, high school, and I didn't like it, so I just got out of it. So
No, you're not an actor.
no, no. I mean, I wouldn't mind doing maybe if I really could get into it, maybe some voice acting stuff, but I wouldn't want to get into like on stage stuff. So
Yeah. I don't know. Stage is where it's at for me. That's what I love. Not a movie star kind of acting. I love the theater. The theater. That's where it's at on a stage.
have you done have you done I never asked, I guess. Have you ever done anything as far as like any acts, any performances, I guess, or plays or
I did some community theater when I was younger. I did a little bit in college. I was going to go to college for acting, but my mom said, "That's a bad idea. Why would you do that?" And I made that's probably the biggest mistake I've ever made because I still love it and I still feel like I could do it and I have a lot of fun doing it. My most recent show that I was involved in, I was actually doing tech work, and it was Shrek. The
Shrek?
Shrek the musical. So they did a musical version in Eau Claire's Community Theater. That's where I went to the city I went to college in, and it was a lot of fun. It was actually a lot of fun. I just got to hang out, and I wasn't on stage for that one. I didn't have lines for that one, but I was like moving set stuff around, and it was pretty fun. I love it. Cleveland is a really big city for theater and performance, and I just haven't done anything here. You know, I worked nights a lot. Working at the casino, I worked nights and everything, so I never really had any availability for that. And I feel like it would be pretty competitive, but community theater, I mean, that's where it's at.
casino?
That's where it's at.
Interesting. I don't remember ever you told me you worked at a casino. Did you?
Oh my god, I didn't tell you that.
No.
My job before COVID, I was a blackjack dealer.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Oh,
Yeah, and then COVID happened, and I was like, "You guys are not going to do this right, so I'm leaving." And they're like, "All right, later." Well,
that's
they actually, yeah, they pressured me to come back because, and I was like, "No," I was like, "You guys are doing this all wrong." But yeah, I dealt blackjack for about 2 years.
wow. Did you ever did you ever kick anyone off for counting cards?
I didn't kick anybody out, but I had people who were heavily surveilled at my tables because they were. And you can't kick them out for that because it's not cheating.
Right.
But they definitely come down and watch you. They come down and make their presence known. And uh, yeah, it's pretty weird when people do that because it's actually really cool. But that only happened a handful of times.
But you do kick them out if they have like if it looks like they're using like some sort of calculator or computer or something or some sort of handheld device. That they're actually,
Yeah, if they're not allowed to have anything like that. You can't even have your phone out on the table. You
yeah,
can't
okay.
even have it like set down or anything. But we can tell them as dealers, we can pull out a card that says the basic strategy. So we can actually tell people the smart thing to do, what is in their best interest, because I mean the odds are so far against you in blackjack that even if we tell you the right thing to do, you're still going to lose. So it's like, yeah, we'll tell you we'll tell you what your best odds, but your odds are so low it doesn't even matter.
Really? I mean, well,
Yeah.
if you're well, I mean, I'm surprised you don't kick people off for counting cards because I've heard that in Las Vegas they'll do that a lot, and not only that they'll kick people out, and they'll take pictures of them and give them to other casinos so that people know who to look for when they go into the other casinos. Um,
Well, if you're just doing it at a blackjack table, they can't they can't prove that you're counting cards. Because if you're just sitting there playing the game and watching the cards, they can't, like you're saying, you don't have a device. They
Mhm.
can't necessarily prove that you're even counting cards. You could just be incredibly lucky for 45 minutes that you're sitting there. But
Well,
um
if they suspect you are, though, because it's their casino. From what I heard, they could just kick anyone out they wanted to. Is what I heard.
oh
That's
yeah, yeah, they can do that they if they want to. They never did on any of my tables.
okay. Yeah, counting cards is kind of cool. I don't know if you know the strategy. You're just basically all you're doing is just going one up and one down and then you increase your odds tremendously as you go along. So, uh,
I've
pretty,
seen some people do it. It's pretty wild, but I never have that conversation with people because one, I don't want to put them on the spot, and two, my boss is usually standing behind me, and I don't even have to say anything. They're already aware of it, so
hmm,
they'll come over and watch, and they'll watch. Oh yeah, they'll sit and watch you, and then their boss will come and watch you. So then you got people at the table watching them. So sometimes they pull a lot of people in to watch them, and it's kind of freaky. But
yeah, I always thought blackjack would be the one that would be the easier one to win. I've only been to a casino once in my life, and I never did blackjack. Is that? I mean, it's more like a thinking game than the other ones, obviously.
um, the reason they have so many blackjack tables is because it okay, anyone can play it, and it's easy to win. But the reason they have so many tables is because they make the most money off of it. If that gives you any frame of like how much money they can make off of it, you know what I'm saying? Like
Ah, I see. Oh, that's
they
interesting.
don't. Yeah,
Wow, I never
poker
thought.
tables don't. The casino makes very little money off of poker.
Hmm.
They don't make much money off of that. They make money off of nickel and diming people who spend $10, $10, $10, $15, $20. They don't make money off of somebody, because it's not like the casino for poker, they're not like putting that much in, you know what I'm saying? Like it's bigger money, but it's not those big amounts of money will never compare to, you know, uh, 500 people all spending $100 a night, and they all sink their money in, and they don't win any money. So
Hmm. Okay, that's interesting.
yeah, that's why they have so many blackjack tables, because that's where the casino makes their money is blackjack.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I remember that. I will. I didn't know that. So, have you ever been to Vegas?
No,
Okay.
no.
Yeah.
I've I've only gambled once in Columbus, and I lost like $100. I I bet on horses. I bet $200 on a horse once because my friend was like, "You got to do it. He's gonna win," and the horse did not win, so I was out $200. I actually love gambling. Um, I my favorite games are at like arcades, or not arcades, but they're the they're the coin pusher ones. So you shoot the coin in, it pushes the other coins, and then coins fall down. I've easily spent like $500
Oh
in
my
my
goodness!
lifetime on those. Oh
Wow.
yeah, I love those.
I
It's
guess
bad.
the casinos love you. I bet. Wow.
That's why I deal. I don't play. I get paid to play them.
The I it's your story reminds me of a story I when I was very young. Well, it's probably about 20, around 20 years old or so. I was working at a shop, and one of the guys that worked there was an FBI agent. He was working there part time, and there's a in Virginia there was no gambling, but there was gambling in Maryland. He used to tell us how you could go horse race. You could gamble on horses in at the track just over the Wilson Bridge, which was right after you cross over from Virginia into Maryland, and I forget the name of the track. I should know. But anyway, he would go in there and he told us these stories where he bet like $4 and come out with like $2,000. And
Wow.
he was really he was like a professional gambler type almost, even though he worked for the FBI. I don't know what he did it for the FBI, but I told him one time, hey, bring me along, please. I'll spend $4. I'd like to make a couple thousand like that. And he looked at me and said, no, I don't want to do that. He did. I don't think he wanted me to go down that path. So
Man, all they always keep the secrets to themselves. They don't like to share the wins with people.
yeah, it was. But yeah, I was amazed with how he never told me, right. He never divulged how he did it. He just told me he did, and quite a few times actually. So
He's using his FBI powers to manipulate the track and the jockeys.
did you ever so that you bet on horses? Did you ever do it again? I mean, it seems like, I mean, the odds of that are, I don't know. It seems like they're better than I don't know. I don't do it, so I don't know. Is it better? I guess I don't know. I mean, obviously for you it wasn't.
I have no idea the odds. My friend was very, very into it, and he was a dealer as well. But I definitely have an interest in learning. I just haven't. So I have not bet on horses beyond that. I would love to. I've always been interested in the Kentucky Derby and horse culture like that.
Here's
But
here's a bit of trivia. When you look at the, let me bring it up here, the Ford Mustang, you know, the horse that's on the grill of the Mustang.
yes.
Okay, let me bring this up so I can explain this to you. Um, the Mustang on the front, there's obviously is a horse. Let me bring it up here. Lord. When it's the direction it's running is based on horse tracks. Hold on a second.
That's
Okay.
interesting. I just thought it was a cool looking horse.
Yeah, the here it is. Here's a picture right here. This is a 1966 Mustang. I have actually owned a 66 Mustang. Here it is right here. That's right there. So you see the horse. That's based on track, and the reason it runs from right to left is because when you're sitting in the stands at a horse track, the horses run from left to right, which is the opposite direction. So basically, they're saying that the horse is going against the flow. The car is going against the flow. So in case you're ever wondering about that, whenever you see
Mm.
a Mustang, it almost always goes from right to left. There is occasionally it will do if the horse is on the side of the car, they don't want to go backwards, so it will face the right way, the other way if it's because they don't want to look like the horse is going backwards when the car is going forwards. But aside from that, it's almost always facing that way. So just a little bit of trivia.
Interesting. Yeah. Oh, speaking of cars, are actually the movie that we have this week. I have a good idea of why you picked this movie.
Oh yeah, so to let everyone know, yeah, the movie we're talking about, it's Fandango. Oh, go ahead. What were you guys say?
Well, I just know when we get into this, I know why you picked this movie, and I'm interested to hear about the car in this movie.
Okay. Okay, well, before we do that, why don't we go look at our question, then we can go ahead and talk about the movie. So before we get too far here, our question from last week was, what would you do if you're the last person on Earth? And here's our results. 2,100 votes, 70% with exploring. 10%. Next down, we got a tie with 10% with going on a shopping, stealing spree, and experiment. And then 8% with playing video games. And only 3% with mourning. I still think I would probably be in the category with mourning. When I was a kid, I would probably be the other way around. But as an adult, I'd probably be in the mourning category for a while. So,
Wait a minute. This poll has 101%.
oh, they're probably rounding off the percentages or something.
Okay.
I'm guessing that's probably why it's like that. They don't give you. I think they're just rounding these off. So, but I didn't even catch that. Yeah, you're right.
Nice. Well, there's a lot of adventurous people for sure.
Yeah, I would definitely do the exploring thing as well, but you gotta be careful going to areas you're not familiar with. You may get trapped inside, like the movie we saw that this question was based on, which was The Quiet Earth, when the main character goes to his job to see what's going on, he gets trapped inside and he had to create an explosion just to get back out. You don't want to get trapped somewhere and you're going to be stuck inside forever. So,
Right.
be the last person on Earth and you'll be the last person. You'll just die and you'll be no one left on Earth after that.
Right. You'll be the last person.
So let's look at the results. The comments we got. Police evidence lockers would be fun. That's from Freedom Cobra. Yeah.
That would be fun. That would be. There's so much you could learn too. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Find survivors. Well, if you're the last person on Earth, then you wouldn't be finding any survivors. So, but if you think there are survivors, if you're technically not the last person, then yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Explore. It's the only option I desire. Let's see. I feel it could be fun, but at the same time, when the depth of the situation hits after some time, I'd probably off myself.
Definitely falls into the mourning category.
Yeah, and the next one is the same, basically saying that I'll mourn. Brian says, is that Brian? Is that Brain? Brainstorm, excuse me, Brainstorm. Says if I were the last person, I can enjoy a few minutes. I can only enjoy for a few hours. No electricity, no internet, and there would be many more problems. But to enjoy, I would like to steal ice cream. Excuse me. You wouldn't be stealing it at that point.
Yeah, you could just have it.
And there wouldn't be very much ice cream left after a while. You'd have to get it pretty quickly before all the electricity goes out.
Yum.
Scary as F. Don't know what that says. Don't know what that says. What does that say? Bud? Something. I'm not sure. I would just go out of my way to blow stuff up. I can finally be at peace. You're blowing stuff up. You're not.
The
really
world is his plaything, though.
Yeah, but if you're blowing stuff up, you're not really at peace, are you?
That's true. In pieces.
That's true. I would do nothing. I would do nothing. Just sit around and cry.
Aw.
Yeah. Kiss Best Fan says praying. That's all would be left, unless I'd be the last person in the world, and there would be a last woman.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, and you're also lucky if it's a woman that you're compatible with.
And not halfway across the world.
Yeah. It turns out it's like your ex that you broke up with, and you're like, someone you never
want to of all the people.
I have someone that comes to mind right now in my head. Playing video games, just the Among Us and GTA at home. Oh, just Among Us. Let's see. Going to Bermuda Triangle. Interesting. I guess to see if you disappear.
We'll never see him again.
Let's see. I'll go to a game store, bring all the best games, and also the best PC. Unfortunately, since the games nowadays on PC all require you to have some sort of internet connection, you better hope that you can crack the games so you can actually play them correctly.
Yeah, that's really true, though.
There are websites where you can get the cracks. Unfortunately, those cracks are probably going to be gone pretty soon if there's nobody to maintain those websites. So you have to hack into those accounts yourself. Exploring Area 51.
Ooh.
Exploring and Sandeep Mohanar. Just explore the world. That's what's greater than that.
Well said.
So
nice.
70% just exploring. No one gave any other answers. Was there any other answers you could think of? I don't remember if we had another idea or not.
No. I think they were all within that.
All right. So anything else you'd like to add? How do you feel? Anything that stands out for this for you?
Ooh, I might be too scared to explore as much as I would like to. I know for a fact I would go on a shopping spree. That's right. And then you get bored, but you get bored of that.
Hmm.
pretty fast.
And you could. I think I made reference to the movie Night of the Comets, where they go on a shopping spree and then they get all these fancy, expensive cars. And I didn't talk about the fast cars and everything too. So the two Valley girls just having fun in the city that's all abandoned, all to themselves. So uh, I can't think of anything else. But you're right. If you're exploring, you have to be very careful not to get into not only a place where you could get trapped, like I mentioned earlier, but also where you might fall and break a leg or something, and then you're stuck. So
Yeah, for real though.
no medical help. You'd have to treat yourself, and you'd be stuck like that for the rest of your life. If
Yeah, you'd almost have to be more careful.
yeah. All right. Oh, that's a update right there. So, do you have a question? You said you had a question, but you were going to wait till we went to the show. What's your question for today?
So in the movie is about a road trip these guys take. So my question, is US specific, but if you could go on a road trip, where would you go?
Okay. You if you could go ups on. Down. Or did I misspell the trip? Hold on. All right. Yep, it is two words. Road trip. Where would you go? Okay.
All right. See the ocean.
See the ocean. Okay.
Drive through the mountains.
Drive through the mountains. It's okay if I use the compressed form of through.
Not enough people use the that form of through. So I
Okay.
approve.
Okay. I'll leave it in there then. Okay. Because I've left comments, people will say that that's not the correct way to spell through, and I go, "Where are you from?" Maybe it's an thing or something.
Yeah, it's the best way to say it. I
Uh,
would say, okay, what other parts of the country would you go?
I was trying to think of that myself. Well, let's see. I drove across country with my friend back several years ago. We visited the Alamo. We visited the big crater in Arizona. We visited the Hoover Dam. We briefly went through Los Angeles. Um, let's see. Uh,
So would you say maybe the West? Maybe
um,
like the Wild West?
well, I'd like to go. I'm more of a history person, so I'd probably want to go to some place that was more historically significant, like
I think that's really good. Like uh like a tourist site, like a history monument.
okay, that's yeah. The places I went to were I've been to well, this wouldn't be a tourist trap, but I went to the two Native Indian reservations that are in Virginia, and it was just like going to two small towns. So it wasn't really like and they it was and I visited the city of Cahokia, which was west of that. I think I showed you that. Did I show you that? I showed you that on those pictures, right? Where I was wearing
Um,
I was wearing a hat and I would look like an explorer. I think I showed you those pictures. But anyway, Cahokia is east of St. Louis, and it was the largest occupied city within the continental United States until 1800. But people hadn't lived there since 1200 A.D. So it was a really cool place. It was basically just remains of what was there. It wasn't really an occupied city, obviously, anymore. I would have gone to different Civil War battlefields, especially more when I was younger. So, how would
how
your
about like a landmark, a landmark or historical site?
okay, yeah, that's good. I like that.
And then maybe if we can fit it, like comment below.
Okay. Uh, and when I was a kid, I would have loved to go to say, well, I'd probably do it again today as well. Going to an amusement park.
I think it deserves a post in its own.
Did you want to add that though?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yacht amusement park. Okay.
And number five.
So
Number five.
you want to leave it like they could choose their own, make their own choice?
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good idea.
Okay. But where would you go?
I would see the ocean.
The ocean,
Yep, I
huh?
would. Actually, I really have always wanted to go to Virginia, West Virginia. I'm very interested in Appalachia, and I think the scenery of all that beautiful green is just so amazing to me. I've always wanted to go there.
Hmm. I've my friend lives. My best friend, his name is Trevor, by the way. He and I've been friends since we were 10 years old. He lives in that part of Virginia, right near
Oh,
it.
wow.
So he walks outside, and there's like the house he lives in right now. You walk out the front door, and there's this huge mountain just right in front of you. You look straight up. it's and it's so funny.
Oh,
You look at this thing; it's like you're looking up at this mountain that's in front of his house. So, um,
beautiful. I would love to have a place like that.
the I haven't been out there for a while. He's got to be at least like an hour's drive, probably more than that from where I live. So, but as long as I would I assume you're just for the scenery. Is that what you're looking for? Not necessarily. Would you be interested in meeting the people too, or
Yeah, I want the full immersion of it actually. I think there's a lot of like American history that is contained there, it's kind of like forgotten almost. At least that's my impression of it, just from an outsider perspective, is that it doesn't get attention that it deserves. And I've always loved bluegrass as well.
hmm,
I've always liked. I want to see it all. I really do. I think it'd be amazing, and the scenery too. But I think the people and the history are just as important and special. And the internet access that they don't have, they need internet access.
I'm sure they have internet access. But everybody, you don't think they have internet access?
No, well, I mean, some people there do, but I just know that um, compared to other parts of the country, it's very neglected. If you look at the numbers of like how many people in Ohio and Wisconsin and other parts of the country have internet set up, and like accessibility is very low there around there, and
Really?
that's
Oh,
at least when I last looked at it. I mean, it's not like I have that on like a bookmark or anything, but compared to other parts of the country, I feel like it is like pretty neglected, and I just want to learn more.
the TV show Beverly Hillbillies. You ever seen that from the 1960s?
Yes.
It's like that was the poking fun of the idea that the whole idea was people from really deep into those kind of areas were coming into the modern world. That was the whole premise of the show. So they pulled out a bunch of hillbillies and they got to see all the what the modern conveniences that the average person has, I should say. So I don't think it'd be that extreme, do you?
No, not at all. No. But it's just like I would say like they're mistreated. At least that's my opinion from somebody on the outside who has like limited exposure and doesn't know any people from I don't know any people west of where I'm living right now. Or I'm sorry, east. I don't know any people east of where I'm living right now.
Hmm. Is that very
So
rural? Is that what you're saying? Or
no, I mean I just am like limited in
oh, you told me to.
knowledge of like
Oh,
other parts of the country.
I misunderstood. Okay, you're saying in general. Okay, I got you. I
Yeah,
got
in a general sense.
you. Okay, well, does that look good?
It looks great.
Make sure I got this. If you could go on a trip, where would you go? making sure I didn't, because I lately I've been leaving out certain words, and I go back and I was like, oh Christ, I can't put that back in there now. So
Yeah,
okay, we're good. All right, we'll come back to
nice.
that one. All right. So the movie that we're talking about is Fandango, and I don't think you had ever seen this one before. Is that correct?
Correct.
So, what was your first impression of this movie?
My first impression, just from when it started, I thought this was going to be like a party movie. It was very Greek-like. But after watching the movie, it's just kind of a it's like a mix between a feel-good movie and kind of like a sad movie. But it's also, I don't know, it's kind of dark in certain ways where the whole thing is about one of the guys in their friend group is drafted into the war. So it's kind of got that sad element of, oh my God, we don't know if we're going to see our friend again. We got to make this one count.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
The
yeah.
oh, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off there. Go ahead.
No, I can get into it more later, but those were my initial comments
Okay,
or
well,
initial thoughts.
I don't think a lot of people know about this movie. I think it's kind of one of these movies that people have hardly heard of. So, the two big actors in this would be Kevin Costner, who was very early on in his career, and also Judd was it Judd? Yeah, Judd Nelson. Judd Nelson. It's Judd Hurst, and I always when I hear the name Judd, I sometimes say the wrong one. I want to make sure I said the right one this time. Those are the two main Those would be the two big stars of the movie. Both of them were pretty much early on in their careers. I think this was before. Have you ever seen The Breakfast Club?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that too. I recognize Judd Nelson immediately.
Because it's kind of funny because he plays such a different variety of characters during that period of time. He played the tough bully type in that movie, and then this one he was playing the nerdy college RTCO guy, going to the military, and then was it in the movie called From the Hip? Have you ever seen that one? He plays a very conservative lawyer, which is like another extreme. It's funny to see all these different kind of extremes he has. I think he was even in St. Elmo's Fire, if I'm not mistaken. Have you ever seen that one?
No, but I've heard of it.
Okay, I can't remember. He might have been in that one. I think he played like a college preppy college student. But I do think Kevin Costner looked a little bit too old to be like like maybe in his early 20s, if that's what you're supposed to believe in this one. So I could be wrong, but there you just don't have to worry about that stuff. But this movie was produced by Amblin, which is Steven Spielberg's company. One of the things I've read on the internet, I have nothing to back this up, was that supposedly Steven Spielberg hated the movie so much that he wanted his name completely removed from it. So you won't see his name anywhere in any of the credits. So I don't know if that's true, but I've read it a few times. So I'm just throwing out stuff that I've heard. So
I feel like if you've heard it more than once, and it's got a kernel of truth to that.
The movie itself is based on a shorter movie that was made as a college movie. It wasn't meant to be a national release, called Proof. And Proof was only there's maybe we should explain the movie a little bit more first. In the movie, there are three comedy segments, if you can call them that. One is where they're going to hook their car up to a train because they ran out of gas. The next one is Judd Nelson is going to parachute out of a plane. That's their next comedy segment. And finally, the third comedy segment is them preparing for the wedding at the very end. That's the third one. But the second one, where Judd Nelson is going up into the plane, the original movie was just that scene and nothing else. It was a short movie, and it's actually on. If you go on YouTube, you can actually find it. I've watched it. It's done. The interesting thing is the guy who flies the plane is also in that original movie, so it's the same actor, but everyone else is different. No Kevin Costner, no Judd Nelson, or anything like that. So just to give you a little bit of background, I don't remember who wrote the movies, so I can't give you their names. But anyway, so it's five friends. One of them's completely out of it for the entire movie, so essentially you're just dealing with four friends. They want to go find what they refer to as Dom, and you're wondering what is Dom, they imply that it's a person essentially throughout the whole thing, and then when they get to it, it turns out it's Dom Perignon. It's their they're gonna have a final toast to the world before they grow up and go into do everything else. And you said one person. Actually, there were two of them, right? Kevin Costner got his draft notice as well. Him and the friend, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. There was two.
Right. It's not a big deal, but yeah, I just thought I'd throw that in there. The other actors, I don't think the other actors are very famous. The one that's kind of the big guy with the kind of the curly hair, uh, from what I understand, actually, let me bring a picture up. Here we go. This has a good picture of the cast right there. There we go. So enlarge this just a little. There we go. The one on the far right, he is not an actor. So he was apparently he was approached just strictly by his looks. He looked good for the part. He was in a convenience store or something to that effect. So they liked him, so they said, "Could you like to be in a movie?" He said, "Sure." So they brought him on board. So that's why his role. That's why he doesn't have much of a speaking role apparently. So they go on a trip. As one last hurrah of sorts. The car breaks down. They try to have it towed by a train, by hooking it up to a train. So what were you going to say earlier about the car? You said something about me and the car.
I'm sure. I mean, it's a cool looking car. I was sure that you would have some things to say about it with the what is it, the wings in the back. Is that what that's called?
Yeah, the wings. Yeah, the 1959 Cadillac. That's it right there. So the night I'm not. It's funny part is I'm not usually a 50s car person. In case you're wondering, the fins on cars didn't appear till around the 1950, 1956 models on any cars. So there's kind of a side angle of it. But if I had to pick a Cadillac, that would be the one Cadillac I'd choose. So the 1959 Cadillac. I don't know if that's a Seville. I can't remember what the exact model is, but I do know it's a 59. So, but it's not. I'm not a. As far as 50s cars go, I'm not a huge fan, but they're kind of interesting to look at. That's for sure. Definitely with the wings and the little rocket tips on for the taillights. That was the whole big thing, to make it look more futuristic at that time. So, how do you feel about do you have an opinion about the car that you brought it up?
No, I thought it was really cool. It was definitely. It looks like honestly, like that car looks like a spaceship. Like that's what it. You know what I mean? Like that is. I would say that's like peak 50s car, no question. Like when I think of like the coolest cars back then, that is like the perfect image of the throwback cars. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was cool ride.
This is also the same model that in the movie Ghostbusters. They drove a hearse in that one, but it was based on the same car design. So it also has the same front end, the same tail end, but it's a hearse though. So if you're watching Ghostbusters, you'll see it's the exact. It's another 1959 Cadillac. So, but yeah, the scene that we're referring to is they break down, and so they're like the idea is, well, let's hook the car up to the train, and they're like the tension built up, and they're like Judd Nelson's like he's afraid of what's gonna happen to his car. He's like, how are we gonna stop? And then finally, when it comes down to it, the whole front end of the car just rips right off. So yeah, there we go.
The build up to this was I was like, are these guys gonna die? Like what is gonna happen? And whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, yeah. And then they end up pushing the car. And then the whole scene over here, you can get a good look at the front of the car right there after it gets yanked off. Now, of course, in real life, if you were to do that, have it yanked off, it wouldn't yank off the entire front of the car like that. It wouldn't. They did that for the movie effect, of course. So um, it would probably do some serious damage, but it wouldn't pull off the whole front end of fenders and everything. How did you like the repair work that they did?
Oh, it was okay.
It was pretty
It
funny
was.
looking.
I mean, it was funny, but it's just like, um, A for effort.
I can't see the
But
fun here.
one scene I actually did like about yeah, okay. A for getting something on, But one scene I did like about just like there was a lot of moments in this movie that I couldn't really relate to as a woman because I will never get drafted.
Hmm.
So I will never have.
Are you sure? Well, your age now, maybe so, but I mean, do you know that they're talking about enabling women so they can be drafted now? I don't know if you know that. That's
No, 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 no. I will say at this point in time, I might even be out of like the draft range. I don't know when it ends, but um, if not at the moment, I feel like I never will be drafted, or the ideas that men are, young men are drafted when needed. And so that part of the movie I couldn't necessarily relate to, which I thought was really interesting watching this movie. We have a completely different experience of like perception of like what that means, like going to war. Well, I'll never be in a position most likely where I'm called to do that. Um, but one scene I did like about as I was watching, when they were in the cemetery, all these guys are just hanging out in the cemetery and just goofing off after their car gets messed up, and
yes.
they were, yeah. So as everybody's lighting up the fireworks, it's like, okay, that's supposed to represent war, the war that they're all about to experience. And they make it pretty obvious when they put the Vietnam, um the thing, and that guy's not even 20. So um I just thought that was interesting. As I was watching, I was like, okay, it's really sinking in with these guys that the war is, a real thing, and this is more than just a trip to goof off. It's really a trip for them where this could be the last time that they are ever together. So I found
Mhm.
that interesting.
So one of the things about the movie is, as I noticed when I watched this, is getting changing the subject slightly, is Kevin Costner's character Gardner. Um, he's always saying he's always acting like putting on a show for people. He's not really showing his true emotions. Um, he's like he says, when you got to get rid of, if you talk about you don't need a woman or whatever, it turns out he really needs a woman. He desperately, because he's desperately still in love with a woman, but he's just living in denial the whole time. And he's his friend, what's the friend's name in that, Wagner was, um Wagner was the one who, in the movie, Wagner breaks up with his girlfriend at the beginning because they were going to get married, and he's all distraught and everything. And Kevin Costner is just going through the exact same thing. He's just hiding it through the whole thing, through the whole movie. And he's putting on a show for everybody. Like, he's basically saying, you just gotta let it go. Don't worry about it. When in reality, he can't let it go himself. So, um, and when at the very end of the movie, it turns out that the girl that his friend is getting married to was the one that he broke up with at the very beginning of the movie. So, and
Yeah.
then you realize, oh, okay, it comes kind of like a full circle kind of a thing for him. And they have the very end of the movie, they have the name of the movie, Fandango. He says, how about a Fandango? And the two of them have one final dance, and that was it for them. So the
Yep. Oh, wow.
I thought the dance was pretty good.
Yeah, me too. They are really skilled dancers, and I feel like everybody back then was a really good dancer, or maybe that's just me.
And I love how they did the dancing scene, because as soon as they start dancing, everyone just disappears. Like, the world to them, or at least for Gardner, his character, there's nothing else there but her. So he's
Yeah.
having one final moment with the person that he really loves, and he's going to say, basically, it's his goodbye to her, so to speak, I guess. So, and nothing else was there but her. So,
Wow. I'm
um,
tearing up. No, I'm just kidding.
And of course the build up to the getting to the three scenes though. The first one was we gotta get to the big one, the airport, the scene where he jumps out of the plane. Um, when we talked about the first one with the car where they towed the car, that was the first comedy scene. The second one is obviously the one with the parachute, and this is like I said, this is what the original movie was based on. The original movie was probably like only like maybe 20 minutes long at the most, and it's basically this same scene redone. Um, how did you feel about this scene?
Hilarious. I
The
thought it was so. I mean, I put it in the lens of like, okay, this is another instance of war where they're gonna potentially jump out of airplanes in Vietnam. But just seeing these guys, like the absurdity of like they're rolling up to this place that like looks abandoned. It looks like the jankiest place ever, and then they convince this guy to like let them jump out of a plane. It was really funny, and I thought it was like I could definitely see this, as you're saying, in just a condensed movie in its own. I thought it could stand alone too. Like it was really good.
and Truman Sparks there on the left. He's a spaced out guy. The not that it matters too much, but the plane they're flying, I believe, and I could be wrong in this if someone wants to correct me. I believe that plane is a Cessna 152, which is actually a very compact plane. When you get inside, if you're tall, you're going to be squeezed inside. You have to be pretty short or small to get in very easily. So, um, the I've only flown in a few of those, and it's not. Unfortunately, I'm only still about 5'8". I've known people that were like 6 feet tall and had a hard time. I had a hard time getting into those planes. The I can imagine people like more than 6 feet tall trying to get into one of those. But anyway, the whole thing is gutted out inside. Uh, all that's left is the plane. He's got rock posters. I remember seeing a Jimi Hendrix image inside there somewhere. Uh, and when they're pushing the plane, part of the wing falls off, or the flap. That's the flap. He says, "Oh no, don't worry." I think this is right here. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, don't worry. That happens all the time.
Oh my god. I don't know if I would I think that's about when I would back out.
I thought the flying in this was phenomenal. The whoever they had flying the plane did an excellent job on this, being able to fly. And there was a scene where it looked like the plane was upside down. I didn't even know a Cessna could go upside down, to be honest. Those things, of course, I flew in them all the time, but I never imagined them being able to go upside down. I just it's just that's something I never even thought of before. So the scene where they're taking off, yeah, right here. I'll turn the sound up just for a second here. Hopefully this isn't too loud for you. Oops, let me bring it down. When there's stuff falling onto the ground.
Oh my god. I would jump out for my own safety at that point. Safer risking it by jumping out than staying in that death trap.
Uh-huh. The whole thing. Now, I don't know if you've ever been in one of these planes. The whole idea of them talking back and forth to each other inside the plane is not going to be that easy. It's extremely loud when you're inside one of these planes. In fact, when I was working with people, the pilot and I would wear headsets, and we'd have microphones in front of our mouths. And that's the only way we could really hear each other was to actually talk through our headphones and microphones because it's that loud inside. So the idea that he's talking to his when right before he's about to jump, he's telling him what to do. That's like this. Your ears would be ringing really loudly by the time you landed if he was flying like that. So obviously these shots are taken from the ground. It's not you can excuse that, but I'm just letting you know that's not how it is when you fly one of these planes, especially if you had the door missing and the wind blowing in there. That's going to make it a lot more louder than it actually is. So
Right.
but this scene, it's like one of those old jokes where they, it's almost like a cartoon where they take up the wrong. He doesn't take the parachute. He takes up the dirty lawn or the clean laundry or whatever. And so they try to get him to stop. So they spell out the words "no go," But then the old lady, she's not his wife, she's his old lady, as he says. The old lady walks out and she's like all pissed off. So she rearranges it, and so instead of saying no go, it spells out go on. So
Hilarious.
And then the scene, the flying in this, like I said, the flying in this is really good. If you ever I've flown in planes, and watching this stuff just really, I find it, whoever did, like I said, did this flyway, especially this scene right here when he comes down. Hold on, let me when he comes down, when we turn the sound off, when he comes down, and right when he comes down, this drop down to the ground and coming back up that's phenomenal right there. Look at that.
Wow. Yep.
That's good stuff, because that's close flying. He came right next to the building, to the hangar, and he came right down to the ground and then took a dive and straight back up again. That's pretty good flying. So anyway, it turns out that he had a reserve parachute, and he remembered at the last second to pull it, and so he does survive. And at the very end of the thing, he won't let go of the parachute, the handle on the parachute, because he's so terrified. And he calls them angels. So I thought he was a little overacting in that scene, but it's still kind of funny. So
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I feel like unless you've had an actual near-death experience, it would be really tough to imitate that.
mm-hmm.
But
But yeah, that's the scene that I think the movie is probably best well known for, is this whole flying scene. Then, like you said, the movie gets a little more serious. It's basically there's some comedy mixed in with a lot of depressing moments, but it seems to be mixed relatively well. So the people, I told you that the movie, when you asked me what it was about, I told you it was a coming of age kind of movie. So they're learning, they realize that they're moving on from moving into the adult life now. So, and also having to face the fact that they may have to go off and to fight into a war that they don't want to do. So, and then they finally meet Dom, or go find Dom, and they all have a drink, and that's when the gardener, Wagner, decides he wants to get married, and so they decide to have the wedding scene, which is the final comedy segment of the whole movie, where they don't have anything to they don't have the money to throw the wedding, so they put on this little routine that that all the stuff that they were bringing for their wedding got lost, and so they were able to con the whole town into basically setting up a whole wedding for his girl.
which is awesome.
I thought that was done pretty well.
Yeah.
And then they get Truman. Hold on a second. Got a little bit of an allergy. Sorry, I don't know what it is. I think it must be the fall. Something is triggering me with my allergies. So pardon me for a second here. But yeah, they keep on calling from a payphone, and they get Truman to fly in and get his girl. And this is where you get some more decent flying. Now, there's this one scene right here where like the flying through there, stuff like that. That's pretty good. If that's really a plane flying through, that's pretty good. Unless it's some sort of effect that makes it look like it is. That's some really good flying right there. Flying under roadsides, and then going upside down. Anyway, I won't go through the whole thing. I will show you this one scene though, which is kind of an interesting coincidence here, right there. I was talking about the Mustang with the horse, and I said it was a 66 Mustang. Well, that woman's sitting in a 1966 Mustang, in case you're wondering. So, so just it was weird coincidences. I just happened to bring it up, and I forgot that there was actually a Mustang in this. So, but yeah, I have actually seen. I have not experienced it, but I have actually seen small Cessnas land on roadways like this before. So, and I don't know if you know that when Dwight D. Eisenhower designed implemented the interstate system back in the 50s, that he purposely wanted the interstate system to be long and straight so that if planes needed to make an emergency landing, they could do so. I don't know if you know that. No.
I had no idea.
So it in a sense, he's doing what the interstate system was designed to do, to have you land safely. So in an emergency, of course, but this I don't think was an emergency. So, the wedding comes, he brings the girl in, then that's when the realization that comes that that's actually uh, Gardner's old girlfriend, and then they get married, and then they paint the car gold, and they go off, and then the friends just dissipate. They go their own ways, and that's the end of the movie. So,
Yeah.
the last scene you see is of Gardner standing on the hill, just basically toasting a drink to himself, I guess. So, the one thing I will say that I was a little confused about right here is this scene right here. The one friend that was like it was out of it for the whole movie. Watch this right here.
It's been real. Call me sometime. Arthur Anderson in Dallas.
Okay, that's not their friend. So what is that? Their friend's name wasn't Arthur Anderson. It was something else. So does that mean that they picked up the wrong friend?
That's what I'm thinking.
I always thought I was always trying to figure out what that meant exactly. I assumed that they just picked up the wrong friend. So instead of being their actual friend, it was just somebody else that randomly that they picked up from the party.
I think so.
So, and then the goodbye handshake I thought was pretty good too. So,
Goodbye, friend.
Have a nice life.
and yeah, that's it. And it basically fades off.
Yeah,
So,
that's it.
and I don't want to get too many. There's some copyrighted music that's definitely going to get hit right there, so I got to be very careful with that. So, overall, how would you rate this movie?
I found it very average. I don't want to hurt your feelings.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, I mean, I thought it was just a easy to consume, straightforward, good moments, but not groundbreaking, earth-shattering, or spectacular. And anyway, I mean, there was some cool stuff in it. I will say, like, the stunts and stuff was cool. Like the planes is like worth, that it's cool. It's got that kind of stuff. But I mean, like I was saying, it doesn't have as much of an impact on me because I am not a part of, like, I can't relate to those guys and their experience. So it didn't have as much of an impact on me where it mattered, which was, the whole idea of these guys are never going to see each other again. Like, I can imagine that with my friends, but not under the same circumstances. You know what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it didn't hit me as hard as I knew it was supposed to.
Ah, okay. I wouldn't say this is like my favorite movie of all time, but it's definitely a movie that there we go. There's a nice little flip.
Nice.
There you go.
That is so cool.
I was just trying to see if I can find that there. I would probably. What was? Oh, you didn't give your rating. What was your rating?
I'd give it a 5. 5 being just a solid. If it was a bad movie, it'd be going into 4 and 3 territory.
And it's probably a movie that you probably wouldn't watch again. Am I assuming right?
Yeah, just because its message isn't necessarily like targeted to me, or it's not. I don't get from it what it's supposed to give to someone, and I recognize that, so that's why.
Okay. This scene right here, when you're flying in a plane, in a Cessna. The one thing I don't know if I ever told you this, but I tried to when I was flying, I tried to take a camera up with me one time, and I took some pictures. And when I brought them back down to show the people that I was working with, I said, "Look at it did not capture the feeling that I had when I was in the plane. In fact, everyone was just looking at the pictures like, yeah, whatever, it's not a big deal." And I was trying to say to them, "Oh, this was really when you're in the plane, the pictures just didn't capture the feel, unfortunately." So, And when you're in a plane and you look off into the horizon, you can see the sunrise, and you can see all these lights down below, and you're wondering what all those little lights are doing off in the distance. What is that? Little towns and little cities. It's pretty cool. It's just something you can only experience while you're in the plane. You can't capture it. The film can't capture it. You're seeing those scenes from a distance. It's something you have to actually physically experience to be there, and that's the only way you can actually experience it, unfortunately. Just trying to capture it by video or snapshot just does not do it justice. And I will say, for those who are familiar with DC, one of the coolest scenes of shots I could ever see was flying over Silver Spring, Maryland, which is just north of DC. And there's a street that's called 16th Street, and 16th Street is a main street that goes straight through the city and leads pretty much right up to the White House. And flying over Silver Spring, Maryland, which is about 5 miles north of that, you could find 16th Street and look due south, and you could see all the way down to you could see where the White House was from a distance, and you could see the Washington Monument. And it's a really cool shot. And if you know what you're looking at, it just looks really neat to see that from a plane. And taking a picture of it just wouldn't do it any justice. But it's one of those things that when you're flying, you just never forget. And you want to bring everyone else up there so you can have them enjoy it just for you. The sunrise was some of the most beautiful stuff. And then the flying through the different areas. The afternoons was a little different because the afternoon was when the sun was up, and I'm very fair skinned. And at that point, I just wanted to get out of there because I would burn ridiculously bad. So it was not something I really enjoyed. I had to wear sunscreen even in the middle of wintertime. That's how bad the altitude is. The sun just comes right down. So it's not as much fun in the afternoons, and the sunlight doesn't do it. It's something about the mornings and the mid mornings that really you look off and you can see this beautiful stuff. It really looks nice. So
nice, yeah. The pictures can't possibly show that. Even if you're pointing it out, it's like, oh, okay, it's just a dot to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, it would be tough to see, but like it would be tough to like look at it from a not I'm in the plane perspective. But I mean, they still got to be pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, the people I worked with we weren't really close as friends anyway, so. I just remember taking all these pictures and I had them developed. This is before digital cameras. So I had them developed and I brought them into the office and I showed them and they were like, oh, and they just didn't say anything. No reaction, nothing. So I was like, oh, okay, well, it was a waste of time showing you guys. I didn't say that to them, of course, but I was like,
it's like, yeah, last time I show you any pictures.
Yeah. So, alrighty. Well, I would say I'd give it a little higher. I'd probably give it, based on your scale, about 7.5.
Nice.
Remember during the first Persian Gulf, the Operation Desert Storm with the first George Bush, when they went into Kuwait, they were talking about enacting the draft, and I was very vocal about no draft. And I said, "There's no way you're going to take me," and all this. People I worked with, they knew how adamant I was against it and everything. So, I guess I can see what I know what you're saying. How you couldn't relate to that aspect, but I mean, there were things though you said you could relate to though, as far as the movie goes. It's just that the whole general idea was something you couldn't relate to, is what you're getting at.
Yeah, I mean, coming of age stuff and having this group of friends, and then having to separate. Those are themes I feel like we can all relate to. Where it's like, oh my God, I'm an adult, and now I kind of have to separate from these people and these things, and responsibility is a real thing now, and like that I got, but within the parameters of like they're going on this trip to find the Don, and they're going to be drafted, so there's a time limit on this. It didn't hit me very hard, so that's all.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, there's definitely pieces that I liked and that got to me.
One thing I read. This is not really. Oh, there's one thing I definitely want to say. This movie was a product of clearly of the 1980s, rewriting the 70s. This is something I noticed a lot during the 1970s. I'm sorry, the 1980s, when they would make a movie of the 70s that was made in the 80s, everybody had 1980s hairstyles. It was very obvious that this was not what the 70s looked like. It would happen a lot. There's another movie called Robert Downey Jr. was in it. He was like the main character, and him and Mel Gibson. I can't remember what it's called now, but that was another movie came out like the late 60s. It was supposed to be there. It came out late 80s, but it was supposed to be like the late 60s or early 70s. Another one where they all had 80s style hair. And it was so blatantly obvious that nobody really had 80s style hair. I'm sorry, 70s style hair in the movies, in this one especially. Because I remember when I was a kid looking at the 70s, that's all you saw was hair all over the place. It was hair. Everybody had hair, and there was lots of beards, long hair everywhere. And even the people, the guys who made the airplane movies, the Zucker brothers, the Naked Gun movies, when they used to do their shows before they made the movies, they even commented that when they were on stage, everybody in the audience just had hair all over the place. So the idea that it was, I don't know why it was like they didn't want to portray the 70s the way they really were. It wasn't until the 1990s that they started to make movies that actually looked like the 70s, when they talked about the 70s, that is. The first movie I ever saw that ever did that was called Dazed and Confused. Have you ever seen that movie?
Really long time ago.
I'm not saying it's a good movie or a bad movie. It's just the way that everybody looked was, when I saw that movie, was like, yeah, that's what the 70s looked like. That the way everyone looked, the way they dressed, the way they had their hair, the men and women, that's what the 70s looked like. And I was like, after that movie came out, then all of a sudden the movies about the 70s looked more like the 70s. They didn't look like they were modern day. So it's just one of those funny things where they didn't get, they didn't, I don't know if it was intentional, like they were just trying to rewrite. They didn't want to acknowledge the way the people looked back then. Maybe it didn't look aesthetically pleasing to the people on camera to have the hair like that. And they thought maybe they shouldn't do that or what. But it's very obvious, very blatantly obvious that that they weren't looking like the 70s. The other thing that's very minor, somebody pointed out, and I've read this in trivia, that a lot of the songs that they play in this movie hadn't come out for a few years after the movie was supposed to have taken place, which is kind of minor. It's like one of these. So like if you want to get real nitpicky, that's just kind of silly because the songs work for the movie as far as I'm concerned. So
yeah, I mean, I don't have any like reference of the time, but it sounded good. I agree.
Yeah. All righty. Well, let's go back to our question. We can wrap everything up here. So we got 65 votes so far. If you could go on a road trip, where would you go? So far, we're 50%, 52%. I changed that to through. I forgot to tell you, I changed it to spell it the long version because when I looked at it, it said drive through. It looked like a drive through movie or something, or a drive through.
Oh, I see.
So I spelled it the long way, so people wouldn't get confused when they saw it. So drive through the mountains at 52%. 26% see the ocean. A tie with 9%, a landmark or historical site tied with your choice, and only 3% with an amusement park or theme park. Interesting. So, let's see. And 2 comments so far. Sandeep Mohan R says driving through the mountains, such as Alps or
the Pyrenees.
Pyrenees, okay. Man, honestly, I love Pyrenees. Normandy. Let's say Normandy. What does that say?
I think so.
Nice countryside. Monte Carlo, Switzerland, jungle. I can't see that. Something island. I know I should be able to pronounce. Corsica. Thank you. I can't. It's not that I can't. I'm having a hard time reading because I think I've said this. My screen is about 4 feet away from my eyes, so.
No worries.
I need to get some reading glasses. And so he's okay. And then Brandon P. Happiness Island.
I will take the next flight there.
Honestly, it took me a second there. I think I know what he's talking about. Hold on a second. If I'm not mistaken, give me a second. I'm doing a search right this. Yeah, it's I think he's referring to the Statue of Happiness maybe on Grand Theft Auto 4. There we go. This is that right there. So in Grand Theft Auto 4, I think that's what he might be referring to. So the Statue of Happiness is a parody of the Statue of Liberty in that game. So, and it's actually the reason why there's a Hillary Clinton face is because on the front of the thing, it's actually Hillary Clinton's face that's on the statue in the game.
Oh God.
And there's an inside joke for that because in the early 80s, she was one of the people that was very much against video games, and she was trying to get censorship put in place. And so they what they did was they purposely made the statue after her. That's what the myth goes. I don't know if it's true or not. That's what I've heard. So if I'm wrong, but I believe it is correct, that they did that on purpose just so that it's a poke fun at her because she was
Spite her.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Well, this is that's definitely a game she wouldn't like. That's for sure.
I would agree. So cool. All right. All right. Thanks everybody, and we'll go see you next week, and we'll have something else lined up.
Peace out.